Hi, I'm Ann Edenfield Sweet with Wings for Life, and are you in for a treat tonight? We have the real Cat in the Hat. Look at this. How fun is this? And we're going to start with a poem. You're never too old, no, you're not too old, too wacky, I don't know, or wild to pick up a book and read with a child. You're never too busy, too cool, or too hot, no, you're not hot, to pick up a book and share what you've got. In schools and communities, let's gather around. Let's pick up a book and pass it around. Hey, I want to pass that around. There you go. There are kids all around, kids who will need someone to hug. Oh. And someone to read. Come join us today and make it your own special way. Make this Wings Read to Kids Day. So welcome, Cat in the Hat. I'm so glad you're with us tonight. Oh my gosh. Oh, I get to shake a hand and I get another hug. I get another hug. Oh my goodness. And let's not knock off my hat. Well, Mr. Cat in the Hat, I want you to come back at the end because we're going to read a story. Is that okay? Oh, he says yes. Okay, I'm going to take the books and we're going to see Cat in the Hat again. Bye, Mr. Cat in the Hat. Bye-bye, bye-bye. And there he goes, and we are going to talk about Read Across America. So let's get started here. Now, if you were with us in years past when we were live, this is what it would look like. And so please, I hope in the future you'll be able to join us and you'll be able to see. We all wear the crazy Cat in the Hat hats. Of course, Mr. Cat in the Hat always comes to join us. And everybody is in red, or with wings, we, of course, wear our shirts. So anyway, it's a fun night, and that's what it looks like. But tonight, we are going to talk about some things. And Dr. Seuss reminds us that today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. And so the assets today that we're talking about is achievement motivation. We want you to do well. We want your kids to do well. Reading for pleasure. Reading opens up a whole new world for everybody. So we want you to read for pleasure. Planning and decision making. When you can read, you can plan and you can make decisions, and then you can know how to make good choices. And we want you to have that positive view of the future. And so today we're going to teach you all about that. Now, Read Across America, what is this? Well, this is something that the NEA, the National Education Association in America, started in 1998. And they've had this celebration every year. It's always in the first week of March, but it can be any time. And believe me, when we're back in person, we're going to do it. If it's July, we're going to do it because you're going to find out why reading is so important. And according to this national assessment survey, this is why you're going to know reading is so important. 2/3 of students by the end of third grade end up in prison or jail if they can't read at a certain level. And I'm going to share a story with you. I was speaking at the American Jail Association National Convention. I was a keynote speaker of all things. And before we really were understanding about education, of course, my talk dealt a lot with education, why reading was so important. And at the end of my talk, this man stood up and he raised his hand and he said, like 1,000 people, this huge, huge auditorium. And he said, I'm head of the Texas prison juvenile system. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and you're listening to me? And then he said this. He said, in Texas, we give the reading test to third graders. And what we use with that reading test is determine how much money we have to budget to build prison beds for these third graders who we know are going to grow up and end up in prison. Now, how sad is that? Who wants your children to go to prison? So if you are listening to this anywhere in the world, you've got to get your kids reading, and third grade is the key year, because through third grade you learn to read. That's when they teach kids how to learn to read. But from 4th grade and on, that's when you have to read to learn. And if you can't read to learn, guess what? You're going to fall behind, you're going to be bullied, you're going to feel like the dummy in the class. And so many people that have been behind bars, and you're going to see some more statistics, you're going to find out they never could read, and they did follow into those statistics. The U.S. Department of Justice suggests that up to 85% of anybody in the systems involved youth, and more than 60% of prison inmates are functionally illiterate. The new Bible that has been written for prisoners, it's called the Prisoner's Bible, was written at a 3rd grade level. When I wrote my book, Family Arrested, I wrote it at an 8th grade level because 20-some years ago, or whenever that book came out, that reading level was about 6th to 8th grade. It has lowered to 3rd grade. How tragic is this? So we have to get the kids reading. And the adult literacy survey says 70% of all incarcerated adults cannot read at a 4th grade level. So there you go, right there. Nationally, here are some national statistics. 85% of juvenile offenders are functionally low literate. Juvenile incarceration is tied, of course, into dropping out. You know, people like to say that 3rd grade reading tests are not going to graduate from high school. No, they're not going to graduate because they're going to end up behind bars. So we got to change that. Dropouts are 5 times more likely to be arrested, and some 75% of inmates cannot read above the 4th grade level. So it depends on what survey, but we're putting in some current statistics here. And those who take educational programs, and that's why we stress so much in prisons, take every class you can, get that GED. I know in the state of New Mexico, they really have it as a criteria. If you don't have your GED, you're going to go to GED classes so you can get that GED and get it before you get out. It's so much easier to get that education while you're there and you don't have anything else to sidetrack you. And then those people that go to educational classes are 43% less likely to offend again. Of course, who wants to go back? So why do you have to read? Well, some simple things. Do you want to drive a car? A guy came in our office today. He's struggling with reading. He failed the driver's test. He had been in prison more than 10 years and he had lost his license. I did not know this in the state of New Mexico. If you fail that test twice, you have to wait 6 months. So now he's had to wait 6 months. So now he's going to have to learn how is he going to use this information and how is he going to read it. He doesn't have his GED yet. He was in prison. He didn't fully get it. He's trying to get it. And how are we going to help him to pass that test so he can even drive? How are you going to read a map or look at your phone and know where you're going? You've got to know about that. You go to a restaurant. How embarrassing if you can't read what's on the well, I'll take the picture of this. A lot of times they don't have pictures. Buying a major item or investing and banking and all these things, you need it for that. How are you going to stay informed about current events? Yes, you can listen to it, but how can you read about it? How can you do any kind of research? How are you going to find doctors and read your prescriptions and stay involved if there's an emergency? How do you find that information? You have to be able to read it. Now, let me talk about reading with families. This is key. Reading with your kids. First of all, it helps build relationships. So if you can, and I read with my boys, I had 4 of them, so I would put the youngest 2 in my lap and the other 2 on either side of me, and every night we read a story, even as the boys got older. I now have grandkids. I love to crawl into bed, sit on the edge of the bed with them, put my arm around them, and pick up a book and read, and let them pick out what they do. What they want to read. And let me show you how I use and how it's suggested with reading. And if you could zoom in a little bit on this one. This is the cat in the hat. So, of course, the cat in the hat. So the word cat or hat is going to be in this book many times. So if you can identify with the kids, here's a picture of the hat. And I know you probably can't see all of this stuff. But every time you see the word hat, then you point it out and have the kids. And where is that hat? So where is it? So how do you find that same similar word throughout the book? And if you can't read, a lot of people can't read. We've got grandmas and great grandmas that have never learned to read themselves, and now they're trying to take care of their children. Well, that's a way that you can learn too. Figure out what is the one key word, and then you learn with your little toddler, and y'all learn together. And so it's a way of creating new experiences that you could start talking about different things. I was just visiting with my grandkids out in Vegas, and my gosh, they had some books that I had never heard of. There are all kinds of new books out talking about feeling and talking about all these kind of different things than they had certainly back when my boys were young. So it helps you explore and help them explore all kinds of new things, and also can help improve concentration. And what I found is that it calms everybody down. It's time to go to bed. Now we brushed our teeth, now we're in bed, now we're all ready to read a story and calm down. It slows the pace down. It gets everybody ready for bed. And that really helps. And then the more that they read, then the more that you can award them during the daytime for other things. And of course, it's going to improve communication for you too, and working with your kids, because now it gives you something else to talk about. Because you're not going to just read The Cat in the Hat, or not just read a story. Usually, oh, well, how does that tie in with our lives, or whatever is going on? Hey, maybe we could get a dog someday, or maybe the cat. And I'm going to talk about if you don't have real animals here in a second. But reading as a family makes a big difference. So if you could just calm down, take a few minutes out of your life before you tuck those kids into bed and read with them, they will start to understand the importance of reading. And again, they've got to read at a certain level by third grade, or everybody says they're probably going to end up behind bars. And we know you don't want that. Now, tips for reading out loud. So read to your child every day. So this should just be a habit. Okay, we've gotten ready, we put our pajamas on, we brushed our teeth, now let's get into bed, and now let's read a story. Try to find that regular time, and for me it was always bedtime, because then everything else was kind of calmed down. Everybody was ready to go to bed, and so then we found that place. And if it's sitting on a sofa because you got so many kids, or however it works, but even the older kids, and as the kids get older and they can start to read, you can have them start to read the story and have them point out the words. And you pick up the story like this and you read it off to the side like this. And then you can point to things, well, what is this? And what is this story? And how many chairs are here? And you could just start pointing out things. Where is the cat? Oh, here is the cat. Where is the hat? Here it is. Where is the hat? Where is the cat? And you start looking for those words, and that's how you can teach kids how to read. Read slowly enough that your child has time to take in the story and look at the pictures. Don't want to just race through it, because the purpose is for them to start enjoying the story. And as young children, if they can look at those pictures, they could start to almost make up the story. And at the beginning, you could even have them make up the story. What are the pictures telling us? And maybe they enjoy holding the book and they want to turn the pages. So however that works for you. And you want your kids to get involved with the reading. Pick out your favorite story. Oh, let's go to the library. You don't have to buy books. The libraries are filled with them. Actually, if you're in Albuquerque, you can come into our Wings office. We have children's books. But find ways to get everybody reading. Now, this is what we do at Wings. We always have a read to the dog night. And so we have actual people that have real dogs. They bring in books, and this is a program that they have. And so they have the same books, and they give them out to all the kids. But then we encourage the kids, go read to the dog. Now, if you don't have a dog, you could go read to your stuffed animal. And the reason is that kids start to enjoy reading. And they don't ever want to be told, the cat in the hat. No, that's not the word cat. You said the word cat wrong. That's cat, not hat. That's not mat, that's cat. Well, you don't want to be sharp with them. And it doesn't matter if the kids start to get a love of looking at a book and trying to interpret the story. That's how you first introduce them to reading. So read to a real dog if you have one. If you don't have one, a stuffed animal. Otherwise, just go read, pretend your doll or something like that. Go read to your doll. Read to something, some inanimate object, to get started with reading, and they will just have fun starting to tell the story themselves. Now, here are some more tips. Read with expression. You don't want to read The Cat and the Hat by Dr. Seuss. Well, that's pretty boring. And if you're really good, you could use different voices. I was probably never that good, but I do try to read with a little expression. Of course, turn off the radio, TV, put cell phones down. This is not a time for cell phones. Encourage your children to ask questions. What are they seeing? What is the story talking about? What are the words? And hey, let's find the is always in there. You could say, hey, here's the word the. Every time we see THE, let's find it. Turn it into a game. How many could you find? Let's see what we can do. And talk about the story with your child. Did they like it? Why not? What's another story that's similar to it? Anything to get them to start talking about it. And your child might like to read that same story over and over. During COVID, I did Zoom with my grandson, and we did Old MacDonald and Twinkle Twinkle, and I would sing, and I Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and we would do all kinds of things. He loved it. Every night, that was our pattern. We just did those same stories. They loved that. And then older children, of course, can read aloud too, and that's really good experience for them. And then they could start turning the little children's books into chapter books. Reading is fun. Now, if you go to our website, we've got our placemat with all of these tips on there. But here are some of them. Visit your local library. Get your kids their own library card. Then they're really proud of themselves. Check out local books and make reading time fun. Let them pick out their books. Let a child see you reading, a magazine, a newspaper, bestseller, whatever you like to read. Subscribe, maybe at Christmas time. You don't have a lot of money, but you could subscribe to one magazine, and every month a new magazine comes in, and hey, I get to read it with the kids. Love of words and silly songs and all those things, anything you can come up with. Anyway, I will keep highlighting these. Encourage older children to read to the younger brothers and sisters. Show the child how people use reading all the time and talking about that. Create a library, their own little bedroom library. Here are your books all lined up. And go to yard sales, for heaven's sakes. We always have tons of books at yard sales. Set up an area in your home, if you can, where reading materials are easy to get to. And then they also maybe have crayons and pencil and paper. Maybe they can draw some pictures that go along with it. And when you're going to a doctor's office or going anywhere, even in the car, carry books and give them something to look at and to read. Then you're not wasting time. And of course, I always listen to books on tape in the car. And we sang along with them, with my boys, and heard the stories. And so they really got that love of reading. We've got some manners about books. When borrowing a book from a library, you've got to keep it very careful, very, very safe and carefully, protected, so we don't bend the corners. We don't tear up the cover, because this is a book that's going to go back, even if it's our own personal library. We don't want to tear it up. Return your books in a timely manner. You don't want to keep them out and have them be late. Somebody else wants to look at them. And when you're visiting a library, you want to keep your voices down and be quiet, because other people are trying to read and look. And so you want to whisper and you want to be polite. Why school attendance matters, and why, and I'm tying that into reading, because look at some of these statistics here. It's just horrifying. It talks about if your child misses one day every 2 weeks, or what does that add up to? It's 20 days a year, or nearly 1.5 years as they get older. How about 10 minutes late a day? Oh, they're only late. They're only late. Well, what are they missing in school? 10 minutes a day, that equals 50 minutes per week, or nearly half a year in their whole course of going to school for 13 years. These 10 minutes, these days add up. So, we're going to the doctor, so I just won't bring them back after the doctor's appointment. Yes, you need to bring them back. They are missing out on that very, very valuable education. And even more importantly are those first first, second, and third grades, because they need to get those fundamentals and learn all those things. So I wanted to include this chart in this talk because it's so important. A lot of people think it doesn't matter. It does matter. If you want your child to be successful at school, then yes, attendance does matter. Matters a lot. Now, we have all kinds of resources here, and I'm hoping that Cat in the Hat's going to be found pretty soon. Maybe somebody can go see if our Cat in the Hat is running around. So let's see about that, but I'm going to tell you about a couple resources that are really important. The Waterford Upstart program. This is a program for children that are going into kindergarten in the fall. We've got it in New Mexico. They have it in several other states. They will give a family that does not have their child registered in like a Head Start program or some kind of federally funded program, but if they are not involved in a program, they will give the family a computer. They will ask that the family read and work with the child only 15 minutes a day. And at the end of this time, when they start school, if they're reading at a certain level, they give that computer to the family. And of course they include Wi-Fi if you don't have Wi-Fi, because sometimes Wi-Fi is expensive, and they will cover that for you too. And this is a wonderful program. What they're finding out is some of these kids at 4 are reading at the age level of 6 or 7 by the time they finish. And some parents that are speaking maybe Spanish or another language, they are learning English by reading along with their children. And so it's just a remarkable program. And so I'd really like you to look at that Waterford Upstart program if you are in this category or know anybody that has a child that will be starting kindergarten in the fall. Of course, the NEA, they have just tons of resources. So you could go to the NEA.org website and you will find all kinds of resources. And then Storyline Online, they also have all kinds of things. And some of the readers include Oprah, Betty White, Viola Davis, Kevin Costner, Terry Crews, many more. So they really have a lot of wonderful resources there for you too. Now, if you go to your local library, so you could go to, if you're in New Mexico, you could go to nmstatelibrary.org. Please go to the library. Now, as COVID starts changing things, they will have more live programs at the library. And that is a wonderful way to get your kids involved in all the free programs that they have at the libraries. They have reading programs. They have all kinds of extra things that they do and extra activities, and your kids can win all kinds of things if they get involved in these programs, especially in the summer. So as summer comes up and you start thinking about programs for your kids, you can go there. Now, the little free libraries, you probably see those around New Mexico and other states. I've seen them certainly. They're little boxes, little library boxes that people put out outside their home. And they ask you to go take a book, either return it and bring it back somewhere else, or whatever. They function on the honor system. So the idea is to get people to read. And then Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. She has given away millions of books now. And you could get high quality books, and they're all free. So we definitely want you to think about that, because that is a resource that really would be wonderful. And so I want you to think about this. You can see the picture of reading together with a family. If there's a mom and dad in the picture, grandma and grandpa in the picture, the more that you can work together on all of this, the better it's going to be. Here's a picture of our little neighborhood little local lending library there. So you could just go and pick out a book. And then, of course, going into a regular library. That is so important. And so Dr. Seuss reminds us that the more that you read, the more things you will know, the more that you learn, the more places you will go. And I really will guarantee you that. Because the more that you can read, first of all, in your imagination, you're going to go there. Because you'll be able to go to the library and get all these books and read about people in different parts of the world. You can, anything you choose. If you like fiction and you like murder mysteries, or you like animals, or you like travel, you could find it all. If you like comic books, you can find that. It doesn't matter. Getting your kids to read is going to be the most important thing that you can do. And I love another quote from The Cat in the Hat. Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Now, the Cat in the Hat certainly stands out, and we want you to stand out. And the way that you and your children are going to stand out is by getting to read. Oh my gosh, we found Mr. Cat in the Hat. Oh, Mr. Cat in the Hat. Oh my goodness, I got to put my hat back on. I don't want to lose that. Okay, well, let's hold some books here, Mr. Cat in the Hat. And let's read a closing story. And Mr. Cat in the Hat, do you know this story is called Oh, the Places You Will Go? Are you ready? Let's see. You have brains in your head. Yep, oh, a lot of brains in that head. You have feet in your shoes. Oh yeah, a lot of feet in your shoes. You could steer yourself, you know what? Any direction that you choose. Yeah, any direction. You could go any direction, Mr. Cat in the Hat. You're on your own. And you know what you know? And you are the guy who'll decide where to go. You get to decide, Mr. Cat in the Hat, what direction. Yeah, you get to decide. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. You got to watch out for those those strange birds might take you on a flying trip somewhere. So be sure when you step with great care, tact, and remember that life's a balancing act. Yeah, you got to balance really well there, Mr. Cat in the Hat. And will you succeed? Yes, you will. And I'm glad you're nodding because yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. So kids, you'll move mountains. And if you find out and follow all these tips that we've learned from Mr. Cat in the Hat and from Dr. Seuss. So thankful you're with us tonight and that you've enjoyed, keep my hat on here, you've enjoyed this evening with us, and I hope that you understand why reading is so important. We don't want anybody to end up in prison. We don't want anybody thinking that they aren't smart, because all of us have smarts, and we just have to learn how to use them in the right way. Right, Mr. Cat in the Hat? Oh, he's agreeing with me. Okay, well, bye, everybody. Thanks for being with us. This is Zoom, stay tuned. But if you're with us through Facebook or YouTube, this is the end. So, Mr. Cat in the Hat, let's put our arms around each other and let's say bye-bye. Bye.